Let's talk about walls, not the kind made of bricks but the invisible ones built by policy. During the Trump administration, the US didn't just talk about a border wall, it built barriers out of paperwork and suspicion. For many Africans, new visa restrictions felt just as real as any concrete wall. Countries like Nigeria, Sudan, and Tanzania landed on travel ban lists, sending shockwaves across the continent. It wasn't just about security, it felt personal, a judgment on entire nations. Imagine being a student from Ghana, accepted to a US university only to have the rules change overnight. Thousands of African students, entrepreneurs, families suddenly faced a system that seemed designed to keep them out. The African Union and leaders across the continent called out the hypocrisy, a nation built by immigrants now closing its doors. This wasn't just a political debate, it was a real-life drama at US embassies from Pretoria to Accra. Business deals collapsed. Families were separated and frustration grew. African commentators warned these policies weren't just discriminatory, they were short-sighted. America risked alienating a rising continent full of innovation and potential partners. The message was clear: invisible walls can be just as damaging as physical ones. Extreme vetting took a digital turn now. Visa applicants had to hand over their social media history. For many Africans, this felt like a deep invasion of privacy. Suddenly, your online jokes, memes, and even your friends could be scrutinized by someone from a different culture. Applicants started deleting posts and unfriending people hoping to appear safe enough for a visa. Even those who got visas faced extra screening at airports, often for no clear reason. A Nigerian software engineer headed to Silicon Valley could be treated with suspicion just because of his passport. The justification? National security. But many African analysts called it flawed and counterproductive. Blanket bans ignored the fact that countries like Nigeria are key US partners in fighting terrorism. These policies didn't make America safer, they just made it harder for doctors, artists, and families to visit. It was like trying to catch a fish by draining the ocean. You might get the fish, but you destroy everything else. The result? More fear, less trust, and a damaged relationship. The consequences were immediate and personal. African students, once eager to study in the US, faced endless delays and denials. Many gave up on their dreams. Families were torn apart. A grandmother in Lagos denied a visa to meet her grandchild in Houston, a son missing his sister's wedding in Atlanta. Business and tourism suffered too. Entrepreneurs lost deals, tour groups canceled trips. The US wasn't just losing goodwill, it was losing billions in economic opportunity. African experts called out the discrimination and the damage to diplomatic ties. While the US demanded more from African visitors, it was reducing its own engagement on the continent. The relationship felt one-sided, a throwback to a colonial mindset Africa has worked hard to overcome. The message to Africans: your talent, money, and family ties aren't welcome here. So, people started looking elsewhere. The cost, lost dreams, lost business, and a growing sense of disrespect. America's loss was becoming the world's gain. Faced with new barriers, Africa looked for other doors and found them. Canada, Europe, and Asia welcomed African students and tourists with open arms. The American dream lost its shine. New dreams took root in Toronto, London, and Beijing. This shift sparked a conversation about self-reliance. Why should Africa's best feel their only path leads through a US embassy? Leaders began pushing for world-class universities and tech hubs at home. The visa crisis became a wake-up call for Africa to accelerate its own development. Reciprocity became a hot topic. If it's hard for Africans to visit the US, should it be just as hard for Americans to visit Africa? This isn't about revenge, it's about dignity and mutual respect. Africa is asserting its right to be treated as an equal, not a junior partner. The hope: to build bridges, not walls, and to welcome the world, even when others close their doors.